I once believed in perfect love. I thought that you were from up above. Hey, this is CeCe Rogers, and you're listening to Brandnite TV.
Brandnite presents
Brandnite TV.
Brandnite, your entertainment.
All right, ladies and gentlemen, welcome to a new episode of Brandnite TV with a very special guest tonight, a true legend of house music. Welcome, Mr. CeCe Rogers. Welcome to Vienna.
Hi, how are you?
I'm fine, thank you. Good to have you here. The first thing that I was interested in when I read your biography was that your name CeCe was given to you by the godfather himself, James Brown.
Yeah.
How did that happen?
Long story, but when I was around 10 years old, the manager of James Brown was dating my fifth grade music teacher. Yeah, and he had came to a talent show, and they saw me at a talent show, and I was asked to appear on his show, and I was always a chubby kid, so James Brown gave me a nickname, calling me, said I reminded him of Chubby Checkard when I performed, and so the CeCe just kind of stuck, and when I started getting into the music business, I just used the CeCe.
Of course, I mean...
I can't use Kenny Rogers. That's my real name.
Why not? That also sounds nice.
There's already a Kenny Rogers.
Oh, maybe that's why it sounds familiar to me. Nice. Yeah,
Black Kenny Rogers. No.
But who else can tell that the artist name was given by, I mean, James Brown? He's one of the biggest musicians ever.
I mean, if you look at he's a remarkable career, but everybody that he was associated with, from Bootsy Collins to Maceo Parker, to all those cats, he kind of like initiated their nicknames, you know. So I kind of felt honored to be part of that group.
It's a pity I never met James Brown. I would love to know which nickname he would have for me.
He would come up with one too. Yeah.
You just mentioned the beginning of your career, which was, I think, 1987, with a record called Someday with Marshall Jefferson, right?
Yes.
So that is now 25 years ago. I'm sorry. And you're from New York, where like house music really started, New York and Chicago. In the past 25 years, what were for you? How did the whole house scene change, basically?
How did it change?
How did it change? How did it change?
Oh, did it change? Well, music in general just evolves. It always does. It's new generations come up and they infiltrate the old and they add the new. And with technology, instrumentation and stuff like that, of course, house music would change. Do I understand a lot of the changes? No, not at all. But having a son who is 17 years old now, who is into this thing called dubstep, I've learned to keep an open mind and a lot of cotton in my ears. That's the best way to explain it. I mean, it's just, my flow was the late 80s to early 90s, and that was something that I can relate to from my genre, for what was inspiring me at that time. As it has changed and evolved, it might not just feel the same way, but then I can go even technical. I for some kind of reason, I can tell the difference when somebody is putting a vinyl on, when a DJ can actually mix from vinyl as opposed from CD, or now from Ableton and the USB sticks. It's a major difference.
It's true. Yeah. You're still into this whole soulful house music kind of genre, basically?
That's all I can do, man. Soulful house would be till I die. Now, there's a lot of people that have accused me of chasing the sound, because there's been productions that I've been a part of that has not been soulful house. But it's not that I'm chasing the sound or chasing what is a hit. I like to stay open. And I don't think there's anything wrong with opening as far as me being a sellout to house music. I can write a houseful track in a heartbeat. I mean, I'm diverse as a musician, but if there's a thing that I liked about house music in the beginning is that it was one of the first genres that was open to so many people. You didn't, when hip hop came along, hip hop was basically for African Americans, and okay, it was open if you tried to do it, but it was still a closed type. Rock, all these things when you did house, you could be from any creed, any nationality, from anywhere in the world. You wanted to get down there and put foot down on the beat and put your influence in the music, it was considered house. And that's what I loved about the beginning of house. And even now to what house has become, whether it's techno, grunge, dubstep, whatever we want to call it, to me, it's a genre of the melting pot. It's a melting pot. It's a genre where you were open to just be whoever you are, from any nationality, any ethnic group, and just be part of it. And so when you have that kind of openness to it, then expect that some things you're not going to understand.
Man, I could listen to you for hours. Within the past 25 years, you've been working not only with house artists, but also with really worldwide pop stars like Janet Jackson. Yeah. You've been part of Chesto Funk. You worked with Frankie Knuckles, with David Morales. They're all legends, basically. Yeah. Who was the most fun to work with?
Wow. I want to say, I could say David Morales. They all had their fun. Janet Jackson was real cool, and you got to understand, Janet Jackson, Luther Vandross, David Morales. We did the remix of The Best Things in Life for free, and that was a nice conversation. But I can't just say one certain person, because everybody that we probably was in the studio with or did remixes brought a different type of flavor, a different type of, I really can't just say one. I got some stories that if I bring to this interview, I would get shot.
But, then besides the secrets that you're not allowed to tell, what was the most awkward moment for you personally during the past 25 years, or one of the most funny, fun, awkward, embarrassing stuff that happened?
One of the most awkward ones, and it's funny that you would say this, but I can't mention this artist's name. Okay, so if you want me to tell a story, don't ask me about this artist. But there was a particular artist that was very, very famous, and Marsha and I had the opportunity to go into work with her and to produce a track with her, and she had this very unique voice, and it really worked great on the, in the music. But when we were trying to produce her, she actually sung flat in everything that she did. I mean, she couldn't sing on key to say. You can give her €500 and say, just sing this line straight, and she couldn't do it. And that was one of the most awkward moments, because this was a Grammy Award-winning singer. I mean, and we were like, wow, wow. And she couldn't sing in tune at all. And she's a singer. You might have singers out today like that too, but I don't say nothing.
One of my most favorite songs that you wrote was No Love Lost, because I think it came out in the mid-90s and 92. I heard it the first time when I bought a Strictly Rhythm compilation when I was 13, and it was with...
you were 13. Yeah, you want to keep going on about that?
I'm sorry. I'm really sorry. I was, There was a time when you've been 13 as well. Okay. Must have been.
Yeah, okay.
You want to talk about your youth in New York?
No.
Okay.
Because actually I'm from Cleveland. I didn't get to New York till I was about 22, after college, after Berkeley. So.
On Berkeley?
Yeah, I went to Berkeley College of Music.
Oh, nice.
Yeah.
I heard a lot about Berkeley, and some of the most influential songwriters and producers are from, or have been to Berkeley.
Yeah. Everything was a transition for me, because I was strictly, before Berkeley, I was a strictly gospel, classical artist. And when I went to Berkeley, I started doing jazz, which was not a hard transition because I played gospel and Church of God in Christ. So it was pretty much similar. But the musicians that I would meet, and I always say this: Branford Marsalis, Will Calhoun, these guys would become legends also, in their line. Like they were absolutely just guys next door that you would meet, and if they still this way to this day, and they would encourage me. I always tell some of my people the story that it was very difficult for me because I grew up in the Midwest, and that's the area where Aretha Franklin, the Motown sound, Marvin, all these guys are there.
You work with Aretha Franklin as well, is that right?
Yeah. But they all grew up in Detroit, Cleveland, Chicago, Indianapolis. That's where the Jackson 5 is from. So everybody can sing. Everybody in this area can sing. The butcher that you go get your meat cut from, the fish guy, the minister at the church, the guy that you get on the bus with, the driver, everybody can sing. So, my brothers, my sister, everybody sings. So me being a singer was not a big thing, So I said, you know what, if I'm going to make it in this business, I'm thinking of to be a school teacher. Let me learn how to play. And I learned how to play, and I studied and read. And when I went to college, my only thing was to pick up that degree, go back to Cleveland and be a teacher. Hooked up with people like Branford Marsalis, and it was like, CeCe, you got a voice, man. What? you need to hear my mom's, man. And they says, no, man, you really got a very unique voice. You should hit New York. I hit New York, and the rest is history.
But how did it happen for you to then be into house music? Because you said before most of the African American people in New York were more into hip hop and stuff, or R&B, or especially the beginning of the '90s when all those like Lunis and kind of bands came together. How did it happen for you to make house music?
Hip hop and R&B was the popular thing in the '80s, and it was a marketing. I hit New York. I was 370 pounds, 22 years old. Big, fat, black guy. I didn't think of myself as being like, at that time, Peeble Bryce. And Luther Vandross was having a hard time because he was a big dude. So it was a marketing thing. And I was like, okay, I'm going to be a behind the scenes guy because I'm going to write and just, I don't want that kind of stress of trying to be a out front artist if I didn't feel like I also had to look, because even back then it was about being marketed. We were just talking about singers who really can't sing, but they sell records because of a look. Unfortunately, they don't last long, but still. So very, very few singers, which I'm very proud of, the industry pushing people like Adele, because, or what's that girl, Susan, what's the girl that won, even a stronger singer. Her name is Susan. A couple of years ago, she
Sarandon.
No, you guys can't lose on this. You gotta just edit it out. Okay. Susan, she was Simon Cowell discovered her. Susan Boyle. You guys don't know who Susan Boyle is? Okay. You gotta remember this. You'll come back on the tape. Susan Boyle. Anyway, she won a couple of Grammys. These people that are not what you call the Christina Aguilera or the very beautiful people, but they have great voice. So even back in that time, it was about selling records. And I was comfortable with who I was and what I was going to do. But my manager was like, CeCe, let's try this thing called house music. And at that time, he had a relationship with Marshall Jefferson. He was booking Marshall Jefferson around the New York area, and Marshall heard me and was like, yo, I gotta have your voice on this record. And I kind of like got thrown into house music. I liked house music. And it wasn't something that I thought that I would do professionally, or that I would even be in the business for 25 years. But once I got into it, in fact, when we put Someday out on Atlantic Records, they didn't even push it at all. No video, no nothing. And the song went out to #1. It became a cult classic over in the UK. And that's how I kind of like got into the business. And going out and touring around the world, it was an underground movement where, again, no racism, no expectations. It wasn't like you had to be part of a country club to be a part of house. They didn't care if you were straight, you were gay, you were whoever. If you felt it in your soul and you come out in the club, that's what it was about. I loved it.
What I wanted to ask before regarding No Love Lost, for me it's also a kind of a classic on Strictly Rhythm from the 90s, but the kind of commercial clubby breakthrough came through the Psych and Sugarstar remake a couple of years ago. Did you ever think about going commercial with what you do, like for example Chris Willis did with the voice of David Guetta and stuff like that? Did you ever think about going this direction, or still just being in the background writing songs for pop artists and still doing your soulful house music thing?
Like I said, I was comfortable with being a versatile musician and writing, but I did go to the forefront, and I'm open. What I mean by that, I'm open to work with anybody where I could feel the music. And with Psych and Sugarstar, there was a what I liked about them is that at that time they were doing a lot of remixes. When I heard it, I was like, wow, this is some fresh new sounds, funky beats, overtone. But when I heard my voice, it was true. Now, you being a DJ, you notice that you've heard people do remixes and they mush up the vocals, or they have the vocals in another key, and it just sounds very, very weird. That wasn't the case with Psych and Sugarstar. They stayed close to the original, and if anything, they enhanced the song. They made it more. It was a '92 classic, and I think we did that track back in 2006. They made it ready for 2006, and so if that's commercial, yeah, I'm all in.
Usually, to close interviews, I ask DJs, producers, and people that I interview about if they could choose one artist to work with, who would that be? Now, most of them say Michael Jackson, but it's pretty difficult to ask you that question because you've been working with one of the biggest stars in the music industry in the past 20, 30 years. So still, if you could pick one, just one artist that you've always wanted to work with besides Michael Jackson, who would that be?
Stevie Wonder. Absolutely. Absolutely. I met him, but I would love to just, for him to have me in a corner and just say, CeCe, play this note. I probably wouldn't be able to play it. He is definitely my all-time idol when it comes down to music in all forms.
Cool. So thank you very much for the interview. I could talk about house music and everything for more than like the whole day, the rest of the day.
It was a pleasure talking to you. Definitely.
And for everybody who wants to check out CeCe Rogers' tour schedule or releases, go to www.cecerogers.com. Is that right?
Exactly.
Brandnite presents
Brandnite TV.
Brandnite, your entertainment.